Hello everyone, Let's Talk TV here, bringing you another video. Today I'm gonna be bringing you guys the Everbloom Gold Challenge Mode, um, which consists of our normal group, which is Survival Beastmaster Hunter, Resto Druid, Prot Warrior, Elemental Shaman, and Combat Subtlety Rogue. So as usual, we're gonna jump right into things, and we're gonna be pulling, I think it's the first 3-4 packs, including all the small flowers. You don't really need those, but we pull everything and just we bring them all behind this little thorn hedge here because apparently it made all the casters line of sight, making it a whole lot easier for our Pro Warrior tank to gather them up and for us to cleave them down. So this is what we decided to do. It was the most smooth tactic for us. Um, yeah, other than that, just make sure to interrupt as many casts as possible, as the naturalists do stun people for a long period of time, and if you don't have multiple dispellers, it can be pretty nasty. But overall, it's pretty straightforward, just mindless cleave as everything else. And getting towards this ridge here is where you will be trying to, well, map jump, whatever you want to call it, really. It's sadly the most optimal way to do this instance, mostly because it has such a low NPC count. It only has 30 mobs count, so just because of that low mob count, this is the most optimal way to do this instance. So it's not really a legit tactic, but you know, you do what you gotta do to get the best time, right? So anyway, getting into this room here where the first boss is, me and the shaman and the warrior and the hunter, we basically take one mender each and we interrupt healing waters. Basically, yeah, it's a heal. That's pretty much it. It's a heal, and we want to be interrupting as many of these as possible. Otherwise, it'll prolong the fight, making us lose valuable time. So yeah, just cleave everything down here as usual. We saved this pack for last. I don't really know why we did it. I guess they were too far away or something. I can't really recall. It was a while since I recorded this, so but yeah, it doesn't really matter. Just get them down quickly, keep interrupting, you know, the usual. And getting into the first boss, as you can see here, I'm going to be trying to respect the subtlety, but unfortunately the boss puts me in combat because he likes to be an asshole, I suppose. But yeah, you get into combat for a really small period of time when he sort of unlocks himself from his paralysis or something. But you'll see me be able to respect the combat here, subtlety from combat here, and we get going to the boss. Basically, what you should be doing on this boss is you should be saving all your cooldowns for the Brittle Bark phase, because he's going to be taking 100% more damage taken during this phase, which is a big deal. And if you have optimal gear, as we do, with the best secondaries and all that, it's going to be even more worth. So as soon as he goes into Brittle Bark here, you're going to see all of us pop all of our cooldowns. You see even our healer druid is Heart of the Wild, the Wrath spamming, just to get as much damage in as possible. Use pre-pot, bloodlust, everything, the same usual shit, you know. We completely ignore all the water balls and all the ads, everything. Just keep tunneling the boss because we're pretty confident we're going to be able to down this boss before he gets out of the Brittle Bark phase, as you can see. So it goes pretty quickly. I think it only took us about a minute to kill him, which is a really good time. You'll see me spec back to combat here. Most of the time I like to spec combat for all the multi-target fights and basically the trash in general. It's just easier overall to just cleave that way. You don't really have to focus too much on the cleave as combat as in the other specs. So it's just for simplicity's sake. So you'll see me spec the combat here for the second boss fight, mainly because there's 3 targets and combat is really strong on 3 targets and higher overall. So decide to go combat for the only boss fight in the instance that requires me to do it. So getting into this boss fight here, you're gonna see the Earth Shaper. He's gonna be casting Wrath, and it's a pretty annoying not having them stacked up, right, for cleaves. And since we don't have a Death Knight to death grip him, we decided to have me just Trix Garrode him like a blanket silence to force him to run to our tank, so he will be stacked up with the others. And it actually worked quite great. We saved a lot of time doing this because we could cleave all three of them at the same time, which really helped us out immensely compared to having the Earthshaper alone and the other two guys only stacked up. Other than that little niche of a tactic, just standard procedure as on Heroic, keep interrupting the revitalizing waters from the Life Warden, and then when he dies you just cleave off of the big guy and just keep interrupting Nature's Wrath whenever you can to just help out with tank damage pretty much. Other than that, you just keep cleaving. You stay out of this entanglement patches on the ground, as they do a fair amount of damage, but overall it's just a pretty straightforward fight. But as we get out of this boss fight in a bit, there's been a few things that we've been discussing regarding the mob counter. In this run, when we did this, we decided to take the big spider with us, the big spider trash mob, rather, down to the spider boss. You don't really have to do this, as we found out that the mages before the very last boss has enough of them to make the mob counter go all the way to 30 anyway. But since the big spider was so close, we figured we might as well just bring him with us anyway. So that's what we did. But I thought I'd just mention that there's other ways to do it as well if you find that more viable for your group. But anyway, as you'll see here, me, the shaman, and the warrior, and the druid will just run straight to the spider's lair, and our hunter is going to be running over to the mage boss, the fourth boss in the instance, and MD pull some of the mages to this cave. The reason why we're doing this is because the gauntlet, no, not the gauntlet, sorry, the sort of RP phase before the boss actually comes down is so long that it's actually a waste of time to just be dealing with the boss adds that comes down, as they have so little HP. As you can see, they drop really quickly. So that's why we decided to bring as much of the outside trash in as possible, since we have such good cleave mainly as well, to save as much time as possible after this boss. So yeah, that's pretty much the reason behind that. The fight is exactly the same as on Heroic. You have to stop the pale ones from inhaling and prevent them from evolving into these bigger mobs with a lot more HP. The reason for that is if they have more HP, there's a lot higher chance of the boss consuming them, as you have to kill the ad if the boss tries to consume it. If the boss does get the consume off, it's going to heal for an immense amount of health, and you're going to be wasting a whole bunch of time, and you don't really want to do that on Gold Challenge Mode. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Going back to the ad question, as you can see here, the fire mages that the hunter pull will be coming in. You want to be interrupting these as much as possible. As you can see here, they do cast Dragon's Breath, which will disorient you for a longer period of time, and if this breath hits your tank, the tank is going to lose all aggro, and it's going to be really, really nasty for your group. As you can see here, I actually do miss an interrupt. Oh well, I actually did have kick on cooldown, could have kidneyed the first one instead of the second one, but yeah, the tank gets out of the breath pretty quickly, and I don't think we caused any major trouble with it. But just a precaution, just try to interrupt all the Dragon's Breaths if you're able to. Except for that, just keep cleaving all the ads. As you can see here, one of the ads has inhaled enough to become one of the big ones, the Venom Crazed Pale Hulk. So we realize we have quite a few of those boss fight included ads, so we decide to kind of cleave these down a little bit so we don't fall behind and get too many of them when the boss actually does come down. As you can see here, the room is entirely clean from every single ad when the boss finally drops down, so this is the reason why we pulled those mobs from the outside, because otherwise we would have just been standing around doing nothing pretty much, because our DPS is so high. So now the fight pretty much goes back to normal. Just a spider boss and the pale ones, where you have to prevent them from inhaling all the smoke that the boss puts out. We noticed kind of late here that this ad is almost full HP, so I quickly call out to swap on this guy, because as you can see here, the boss actually jumps on him to consume, and we really don't want the boss to be healing up here. So like everyone just get on him as soon as possible, and we actually do get him down by just like a second or so left on the consume, which is really lucky by us. So lesson learned, I guess. We just get on every single ad that we get from here on out and just kill them as fast as possible. Even though our healer is pretty on, like he's literally fucking so we still decide to keep doing this tactic, just prioritizing the ads before the boss. It was the right call to do, because otherwise the boss would have probably consumed one of the ads and we would have had to restart again. But yeah, sorry, pardon. As you can see, the boss is going pretty low and we're gonna kill him here, so it's all good. So we're quickly gonna run upstairs again to move on to the mage boss, as I mentioned earlier. You'll see me sit down here and eat another food buff, because that poison ticking on me actually ticks for more and more as the debuff goes along, and it probably would have killed me if I didn't sit down to eat. And since my healer was I figured it was worth doing that, so it was probably a good idea in the end. I don't really know why this mage is where he's at. I guess he didn't get pulled all the way down to the spider's lair or something, or he was just pulled like just now. I didn't see because I was downstairs eating. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. Just kill him off quickly and move on to this next area over here. So we get into the Violet Bluff here, where the mage boss resides, and we're just gonna be pulling this one adult Arcanomancer before we get onto the boss. I don't really have time to respec here, so I'll just stay combat since I have all my cooldowns. Also, a funny thing here, as you can see, I get constantly pushed back for some reason. I don't know if this is a bug or something, but that's usually the effect your character gets when there's a black hole around, but from what I can see, or could see, sorry, there was no black hole, so I don't really see why I should be pulled around like that, but there was a few seconds of DPS lost there because of it, but it's okay. We still managed to get this fight down pretty clean. Just cleave the ads down, interrupt any spells that you need to, coordinate interrupts and mass spell reflects and stuff like that with your tank. If your tank is a warrior like ours, you can actually gain a lot of DPS by doing this if you let the tank spell reflect every cooldown, especially on this boss, as the fireballs do deal immense amount of damages. So yeah, just keep doing that, and you want to like stop yourself from interrupting the parasitic growth too often, because if you get her into the arcane phase by interrupting it too much, there's going to be really heavy AoE, and your healer might not be able to keep up with this, and if too many of you die and you have to run back, you probably wasted too much time to get the realm best timer. So to play it safe here, we decide to not interrupt the parasitic growth for more than for less than 2 stacks. So we let at least 2 stacks of the growth go through before we decide to interrupt it. I randomly die here because I get a pyroblast for almost 92k damage. I don't know if it was an ad that I got aggro on or something, but luckily the druid of our group has the combat res left up, so it was no biggie really. But yeah, as I mentioned earlier about the spider being pulled, big spider, you can either skip him or pull him to the spider's pit. As you can see here, we only need 1 more enemy to finish the criteria for the instance, but there's 3 mobs here. So basically, if you don't want to pull as many mobs as we did down to the spider's lair, you don't really have to, but you have to make sure that those 3 are enough to get 30 enemies, because past this point, there's not going to be any more trash. So you really need to make sure you have 30 enemies before you run through here. Also, a small mistake from me here. I probably should have let my group know. I probably should have spec'd subtlety here. As you can see here, I used all of my CDs on the previous pack, and so I don't have an adrenaline rush, I don't have killing spree, I don't have anything, so my DPS is going to be majorly gimped for the start of this fight. So what I should have done is I should have probably called out for my teammates to let me respect the subtlety, as it would have benefited this a lot more. But it's okay, like combat is still really good for this fight, as is a lot of cleave. So yeah, in the end it doesn't really matter that much. This fight is pretty much the same. Actually, it is entirely the same as on Heroic. When he does Genesis, he spawns all these flowers on the ground, and you have to make sure to stomp all of them, unless you want additional ads for cleave. I don't know why you would want it though, like if you can avoid the cleave, then you might as well do it, right? Pardon again. But yeah, other than that, just stay out of the Colossal Blow, free all the NPCs, as they do help you with the damage and AoEs and stuff like that. So it's just a like win-win situation, as the entangling roots that the boss spawns on a player or an NPC, they don't really have that much HP, so you might as well just free every single one of them. Other than that, just this fight shouldn't really be too hard for you in any way, like for any group. As long as you take care of Genesis, you should be more than fine with handling this fight. There's not really that much tank damage going out, and even if you're healer Zoom, you can probably deal with this fight very well, if you, as I said, deal with the Genesis properly. So, as you can see here, we have just over a minute left and the boss is almost dead. So at this point we know pretty much that we're probably gonna get the round best, as it's a really good try. Yeah, basically we finished at 16 minutes and 25 seconds, which eventually led to the round best. We also finished up the Warlord achievement, or whatever it's called, the one that you need, the one that you get when you get all the weapon transmogs and all that stuff. So yeah, we're pretty happy about this run. I do believe we're pretty far ahead of the other group that did round best in this instance, and yeah, we're really happy with it. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna stop blabbering on and on and on. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, remember to like it and share it with all your friends, as it helps me out immensely with what I do. I really want to keep doing YouTube videos for you guys. It's really a fun pastime for me, and I can also get something out of it as well, and also to entertain you guys, so that's really awesome. Also, if you want to see more of this kind of content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. You'll see an annotation for this on the screen right about now, so go check that out. I think that's about it for this video, and yeah, as always, I will see you guys next time. Peace. Really